Hello, Maverick fans. Welcome to another edition of the Mavpuckcast. I am Jason, and John is here.
And Bridget is not.
And Bridget is not.
She was our special guest last week. She went over very well. A lot of people enjoyed her participation in the podcast last week.
I know. They're like calling for us to get fired already. It's one podcast.
You know, there's a couple guys that I follow who a couple years ago, they started a podcast talking about movies. They picked a specific movie each episode, and that's what they talk about. And at first it was just the two guys on the podcast. Then all of a sudden, one of the guys' wives ended up on the podcast, and now she's like a permanent fixture. And I wonder if it was a similar kind of thing where they just tried her out for a podcast because it was a movie she wanted to come on and talk about. And now she's permanently on there. So we didn't fall into that trap. Bridget just is not back this week because Jason and I want this to all be about us. So
Egos in check.
no, we really don't, but we don't want to inconvenience anybody else to have to do this podcast on a regular basis. So
Especially when we figure that it seems like almost every time we record this thing, we end up with crazy weather and huge snowstorms.
the weather, yeah, exactly. We don't, although I will tell you, knock on wood, we've had fairly good weather compared to last season. So
Yeah, and the few times that we didn't, we phoned it in. Literally.
We did. We literally phoned it in. Yep.
So Mavericks took a trek up north, went to Duluth to play the Bulldogs, and sadly did not come back with any points. Season sweep for the Bulldogs. UNO lost both games here, and then this past weekend lost both games up there. I was going to say I think they played much better on Saturday than they did on Friday. I heard a lot of people saying that, so I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in that opinion.
Nolan Sullivan said that. He said they
Yeah.
didn't have a very good first period on Friday night, so he felt like they played better out of the gate on Saturday night. So one of the members of the team agrees with
Yep.
you. Yeah.
And he's one I respect, so I'll take that.
Absolutely. He's been a pleasant surprise this season.
Well, I don't know if he was... Maybe it was a surprise to some fans, but you and I saw him play when we went to a Lancers game, and both of us left that game saying
He was
we
going to be
expect
one of
big
the,
things from
yeah.
him.
He was honestly, he was one of the better players on that Muskegon team. And I will tell you, there was some guy on that Muskegon team who I think had a Russian name who was going to play for Michigan State that you and I were we were totally impressed with. We should
Yeah,
look
here-
him up. We should look him up. He's probably
We-
doing great things for the Spartans now. I don't know, but man, he was a great player. But Nolan Sullivan was great on that team too. So
Yeah.
so yeah, Jason and I weren't shocked by that, but I think he's definitely been a pleasant addition to the team this season.
I think what is a pleasant surprise, at least to me, maybe you feel the same, is his consistency. Being a freshman coming in first year, I expect big games from him, but night in, night out, he is a candidate for player of the game for us, or player of the weekend, or whatever we want to call that segment. that
Yeah,
we
he
will do
is.
in a minute.
He has become a fixture in that segment. Always under
So,
consideration.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I just didn't expect, I didn't expect him to consistently be one of those guys and to be a top, both nights. Gabnet had him on the top line.
Yeah, and remind me, it seems like forever ago since last fall, but he wasn't playing early on in the season, right? Like he missed a
started
few
with an
games.
injury.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So we weren't sure how he was going to fit into the lineup because you never know when you hear a player's out early on and you hear about an injury, whether it's going to become one of those nagging things that affects their entire season. But that was not the case in this instance. And he, once he got into the lineup, he really established himself quickly.
Yeah, I think he missed a couple series, and then it was like he was in and out for
Right.
a weekend or two or something, and
Yeah.
then he's been consistently there, and now he's our top line center.
Yeah.
So, and depending on who's in and who's out the rest of the way, and I guess what Gabnet's feeling, he's a big part of the the Omaha CWS line,
Yep.
which is apparently something that a lot of people didn't realize got put together a couple weeks
Well,
ago.
I didn't realize that, and your wife didn't realize that. You gotta
Well,
keep
I was
us up
pushing
to.
for this last
You
year.
were, but you got to keep us.
Different players.
Yeah, you got to you got to keep us up on the acronym.
So Friday night we finally got the CWS line, which I think was just appropriate considering it's Omaha and College World Series / CWS. But it was Conley, Ward.
Ward.
Last year
we
wanted Conley, Ward.
I'm sorry.
Weiss,
anytime I think W, I think Weiss, because we talk about him incessantly on this podcast. Probably more than we should, but yeah. So Conley, Ward, and Sullivan. Yeah. That's proven to be a really good line this season.
It got broken up on Saturday.
Yeah. What did you think about that move?
I understand why he did it.
Yeah.
Moving Weiss up there, change the dynamic.
Trying to create a different dynamic, get a little bit more speed on the line.
Yeah, and Weiss brings creativity. He brings a lot of puck possession, and I assume that he would say something similar, but I think that his greatest skill is his hands and his passing ability, and so to have someone like Ward on a line with him just opens up hopefully some offense, which for the first part of Friday's game we were kind of struggling to really get any kind of momentum in that way. So I could see why he did it, but yeah, the Conley, Ward, and Sullivan line has been very productive.
Yeah, that's a line I really like because I like all three of those players.
I heard a friend of mine that scouts NHL stuff told me it's like sometimes you break up a big line like that not because of anything that's happening on that line.
No, but because you want to try and spread the wealth.
Right.
Your
hope is that maybe if I move someone, a first line guy off of the first line onto the second line, it'll help those second line guys produce more.
Back in that 05-06 era, we had two of the top forwards in the nation, Scott Parse and Bill Thomas, on the roster. And they played great on a line together. They played fantastic. Those two guys had played at the Tri-City Storm together in the USHL. And so the coaching staff, every so often would try and put each of those guys on a separate line to try to get, more than one line producing. And ultimately, it was one of those situations where they ended up going back with Parse and Thomas on the same line because that dynamic just was very, very powerful having them both together. So you just never know how that'll work.
Did the same thing when we had Ortega and Gensel here.
Right.
Those two did very well together on a line. Occasionally, they try to split them up, and it just never seemed to have the net effect that you're looking for.
Well, that was the Dean Blaze era, man. He would switch up those lines like every game.
Russian roulette with lines.
And sometimes it seemed like it was just, insanity that he was doing it. But, the results kind of, the mad scientist at work in his lab, I guess it was either.
He talked about that before. Like, why does because he's been well known for jumbling lines more than almost any
he does,
other coach, right? And so I remember an interview that he did where he talked about that and said, sometimes you do that because when you're playing with guys you've never played with, there is no chemistry. And since there is no chemistry, you have to get back to the basics. And sometimes you put guys that have been together for so long and they start getting a little bit too
complacent.
Fancy.
Yeah.
They try to make things happen that they shouldn't be doing. They try to, these crazy, ridiculous passes.
This is where we want the tic-tac-toe, beautiful backdoor.
Right. I want you to run my system, and if you're going to start getting too much out of my system, then I'm going to put on your line where your only choice is to run my system.
Right.
And to his credit, okay, I get it.
I mean, they won basically 17, 18 games every season he was a coach. So I can't argue with it. It's
hard to argue with it, right?
It's hard to argue. Yeah, it's hard to argue with the final result. It may have been ugly watching it sometimes, but it was. So that's kind of one of those crazy little things. But yeah, that's when they switched that up on Saturday. I thought, well, maybe they're trying to do something like that, see if they can get a couple different lines producing. I will tell you though that some of the other lines did produce on Friday and Saturday nights, so that was nice to see. Overall, it didn't go the way that we were hoping it would go. UNO got swept, as you said, and we had didn't Minnesota Duluth is the one team we really have not had success against this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're two-time defending national champs for a reason.
And I believe Bridget pointed out that March 2nd, 2018 was the last time we've defeated Minnesota Duluth. So
yeah,
let's hope it's not becoming
a
Denver like streak for us.
The other surprising thing for fans that maybe weren't able to watch the game on NCHC TV was we had different netminers Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
And what I gather is not by choice. The announcers and stuff, we were going back and forth on text, and I had speculated it sounds more like an injury to me. And then at the start of the game, they had mentioned on the broadcast that there was an injury to...
Because Coach Gabinet has not seemed like a guy who's really inclined to go against a goaltender that they're having success with and that they're comfortable with. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I mean, it would have been bold if he'd just been like, because I thought, well, maybe it's like, it's, going to be tough for us to get home ice now. So let's get the backup goalie some, playing time, especially since the line charts had come out. And they had Seville listed as the starting goaltender before the game. I think I saw that an hour or so before the game, but it turns out it was an injury that he was, and I don't know if that was an injury he sustained during practice during the day or the game on Friday night. I have no idea.
He just fought through,
something that's been a nagging deal. I don't know.
Hopefully, we'll find out some more details when they do some of the press conferences and stuff, and we see some of the news reports come out.
Yes.
But hopefully it's not something that's long-term for him.
Right.
He's got a week of rest here, so maybe that's enough to nurse whatever it is that...
Yeah.
I would say that looking at our schedule and where UNO stands, if it was a minor injury that he could play through, that he did play through on Friday, I would hold him out on Saturday too.
Right.
Say, look, we're going to give you some extra time. This is something you can get over in less than a week, and we'll be back at it, and you can be back in net for Cairo College.
Right. I mean, we're sitting 6th place in the NCHC standings right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're 4 points behind St. Cloud after the weekend, and we're 9 points ahead of Miami, who's in 7th place. We would have to majorly implode these last 6 games that are coming up to drop.
Right.
And Miami would have to play really well to drop below 6th place. So really our fight right now is with St. Cloud. And we have the more favorable schedule.
Exactly, because St. Cloud has to play Denver, North Dakota, and Duluth.
Yeah, we get Colorado College, Miami, and we end it here with North Dakota. So we have the more favorable schedule. We have more opportunities, I think, to have success. So I think
a 5th place finish is reasonable, and I think if you're looking at long term, I don't know that home ice is reasonable at this point in time. I don't think a 4th place finish is.
It's hard because
I don't see how that happens.
It's hard. Like I was mentioning before the podcast, 4 of the NCHC teams played this weekend. UNO, Duluth, St. Cloud, and Colorado College. And then those 4 teams have the bye from conference play next week. And then, basically all the teams that are ahead of us, North Dakota, Western Michigan, Denver, and then Miami, who's below us, they all play next weekend. So it's going to be tough. Plus, it's going to be tough because Western Michigan, I believe, plays Miami 4 more times before the end of the season. You can double check that if you want to. You can look at Western's schedule, but it's
do because they've got at Miami and they finish at home versus Miami.
Right, exactly, and that's like their travel part. And it's really weird that they had those 2 series in close proximity. It works out really well for Western Michigan, doesn't it? But yeah, that's going to make it tough. So yeah, I think 5th place. But Jason, honestly, considering all things, I mean, if we finish 5th place, that could mean a trip out to Denver to play the Pioneers, because they're currently sitting in 4th right now.
Yeah, but I think that Denver has a better schedule than Western Michigan. I think...
Is it as good as playing Miami 4 times, though, before
Yeah, but
you know
then
what I'm
you've got to
saying?
play Duluth and Denver in between that.
Yeah.
Or Duluth and North Dakota in between that. And Denver has
They'll,
Miami, St. Cloud, and Cara College.
right.
So I suspect that I see it
It's
right
going to be
now
very
that Denver's going to overtake them, and I'd rather be in 5th going to Western Michigan than in 6th going to Denver.
I completely agree. I would not rather be in 5th than have to go to Denver.
Right.
Like, that would be the irony. We have this great 5th place finish, and it results in us having to go out to Magnus to play. Although you never know.
You could go to Denver, and then you could like shock them and win 2 straight, and it could be this amazing thing. So
you know, you never know, and you know that that's a team that they would be very motivated to play.
Yeah, and they did play very well against them earlier this year, calendar year.
They did. So yeah, I don't know, but right now, I mean, wouldn't you agree that it's going to be tough I mean, we're not eliminated from getting home ice yet, but it's going to be very tough for UNO to get home ice. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem.
I mean, I'm sure that mathematically
they can do that. Yeah,
they could do it, but realistically, I don't see that happening.
Right. We have 18 possible points left in conference play, so it could happen. But the next couple weekends, we'll probably know more in a couple weeks after we play Colorado College. We'll have a better feeling after that weekend because, you know, Western and Denver, both of those teams potentially could, you know, have kind of put it out of reach. So you never know. But 5th place, that right now we're in a kind of a dogfight with St. Cloud for that. It's just
let's see what you did there.
Complete unintended pun there. So yeah, so it was tough not getting any points up in Duluth this weekend. I had hoped that maybe they could at least get like a tie or, you know, a point, maybe 2 out of that series. And
I thought Friday, I was like, man, they're really making a push there in that last rush. I'm thinking maybe this is one of those games where you shouldn't win this. You shouldn't be in it. You have no business thinking about this, but maybe you can steal a point from here.
Yeah.
But they just couldn't get the equalizer.
Right, and because they played well, you know, Friday night, I thought maybe they had a chance Saturday, but ultimately that didn't happen. I still think they're not quite there. There's still instances where they're making mistakes and poor decisions, and that's had an effect on the team. Yeah. Poor passing, exactly. So it didn't happen. So here we are, and we'll be interested to see what the motivation is for him the last 6 games of the season.
Learn through it. Move on.
That's right. It's all you can do.
So player of the weekend then?
So my player of the weekend, yeah, and I actually had, who was I going to pick for player of the weekend? I actually had a very clear pick.
I thought there was one that's obvious, and then there's a couple that we could consider past that. So why don't you go first and see if you take the obvious one, or what I consider at least the obvious one.
Well, let me think about this here. Just as we're looking here, I will keep talking. But this was a tough one because, as you said, there's one player, Chase Primo, who you could pick as kind of an obvious pick. But I'm going to be a little bit different than that. I'm going to pick Teemu Pulkkinen on the weekend. Because I thought Teemu he had a lot of good opportunities this weekend. He's a player that we've been talking about the last few weeks. I haven't picked Teemu this season. And so I'm going to pick Teemu. And I'm mainly going to pick him for getting that late goal on Friday night that narrowed the score from 3-1 to 3-2. And kind of put it within striking distance. Yeah. So I'm going to go with him. I thought about picking Chase Primo because I don't think I've picked him yet at all. I don't know that either of us have picked him this season.
We should probably keep a running tally.
There was a nice article on his family, his dad.
Yeah.
That the NCHC did this week. So if you haven't read that, go to nchchockey.com and check that out.
Well, I felt he was the obvious one from the weekend. I think both nights, he just really... He was in the right spot. He was productive. The announcers said his name a lot. Even when they weren't talking about him,
They were talking about him a lot.
Yeah.
And I would almost say another one that we heard a lot of this weekend, and Bridget had pointed out on Saturday night that he was blocking a lot of shots, was Travis Cotenbeetle. And he's not a guy that we always, think of or hear of a lot. And he had a good weekend too. But yeah, Primo has definitely kind of started to come into his own. And he's a player. He was fighting injuries last season, wasn't he?
I think a few, yeah.
Yeah. And so in his sophomore season, again, he's starting to step up and look like a really good forward in the making here. So I'm very excited to see him have success this weekend against a really good team.
Konepke was another one that I heard.
Yeah.
And saw quite a bit of.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if we've ever picked him.
We don't pick defensemen very often.
Well, because they're usually the ones coughing the puck up.
I know.
There's a reason for that.
And UNO was also dealing with injuries this weekend. We didn't have Stewart, we didn't have Keck, and we didn't have Abate.
Right.
And those are three key players in our lineup. So
yeah, there's three regular guys, yeah.
We could have used them for sure. So, yeah, so you pick Primo.
Well, I think he has to get picked. So if you're taking...
Yeah, I was going to be different. I'm going with Pulkkinen. So.
Yeah, so I think Chase was the obvious.
Yep.
Primo or Primu or whatever.
Primo.
Hey, logic
Jason.
sound, man.
Okay, I'm just going to say this as a guy who took like 7 years of French in school. It's like tableau, chateau, Primo, like Juneau, Alaska,
He plays for the Mavericks.
Now, if it's EUX,
Moo.
like if it's EUX, like is it Lamoureux or Lamoureux?
Lamoureux, yeah.
So it's
the Lamoureux
but
twins.
It's Primo. It can't be Moo. So see that.
It has to be Moo. He plays for the Mavericks.
It has to be Moo because it has to be Moo because the girls told me that they want to make a sign with a cow, and I'm like, but it's Mo, like mow the lawn, like Primo.
Well, we already have his sign because it's prime time.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Then why was Lexi telling me about another? We should do this for Primo. You already have a sign. I didn't even realize this. So, all right, there you go. I don't know. So yes, Primo.
Yeah. Primo.
Tomato. Oh, I'm so glad this name pronunciation has come up. Primo, yeah.
I just want the entire week of Twitter to be dominated by this.
Yeah. How do you pronounce E? It's O, like tableau. Chateau. Hat in French is chapeau. Yeah, Primo. Yeah.
I took French too, I still say.
We know what Jason says. We know what he says. Okay.
The number of times that the announcers called it Weiss, I was gonna like.
They did. I will
and they
tell
kept doing the same thing that a number of them.
And
it's not Taylor Weiss.
Explain to me though, like Cotenbeetle, which looks like Cothenbutle, they managed to get that name right the whole week, the whole weekend or most of the weekend. I'm like, that is a mouthful of a name to say, and I got to tell you, we've got some doozies coming in the next couple of seasons. Not only is there not going to be enough room on the, shoulder plate on the jersey to get all of the letters, or I guess the back plate, not really the shoulder plate, but there's not going to be enough room for all the letters. And we got hyphenated guys coming in. It's going to get ugly on this podcast. It's going to get ugly with announcers throughout the college hockey world.
Well, I'll throw out a suggestion then. You should go on and create something on Mavpuck with the pronunciation guide. I mean, all of the announcers get it. Why not give it for fans?
I think it's in the media guide.
Yeah, but not all the fans know where that is.
Okay, so this is actually kind of a nice. Do they have a pronunciation guide on the roster? I wonder, on the website where somebody says it. See, we could totally do that. I could totally record myself saying it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe we'll
work on. You can put it in there in text, and you can have a little icon.
Yeah, I can have the little.
And you can have them say it.
I can have the little phonetics pronunciation guy, and then I can have a little recording of myself saying it. Yeah.
You should.
In the vast amount of spare time that I have, I will work on that next season, especially because it could get rough.
You know what we should do is we should make it part of the Patreon campaign.
Yes, There you go. That's going to be the hook. Well, I've always wanted to know how these player names were pronounced, so I'm going to donate. I'm gonna become a monthly dollar Patreon subscriber to get that pronunciation guide. Whew, I'm so glad we've hashed this. It's a good thing Bridget isn't here. She'd just be like looking at us like
she'd be glaring at me bad.
I'll just tell you, just her mere presence just kept us on track last week.
We're recording this and I can feel her glaring at me.
I can feel at us now. She's just gonna be like making judgmental comments when she listens to this later. Okay, so
that's why she was a special guest and not a regular reoccurrence.
She's like, I'm stepping in to keep you guys on track. I mean, Jolene wasn't here today either. Normally she writes down the topics we're going to do, and I don't even think we have that. So this is...
Oh, wait, no, I have a sticky note.
Oh, okay. So
sticky note.
That's a lovely sticky note. So anyway, UNO got swept. UNO got swept by the Bulldogs. It's not what we wanted to have happen, but we're moving on. So, yeah.
Tickets. We want to talk a little bit about...
tickets.
Like how you, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this, how you purchase and utilize your tickets.
This is a topic that I think is going to become relevant as, we get closer to the off season. And this is just a guess on my part, but we've already seen, for example, UNO change the tickets from getting a book with paper tickets that are perforated that you can tear out, to they've gone with this credit card, lanyard card type of thing with the QR
code, yeah.
And it's very possible, I think in my mind, if not next year, I think it's possible within the next couple of years that they decide to make a move with UNO hockey season tickets to just going all digital with the tickets. And I think that, and the reason we bring this up is not because, Jason and I enjoy a good, wonky discussion on ticket technology as much as anybody, but we bring it up because there was an article a couple weeks on College Hockey News about declining attendance at collegiate hockey games,
right?
And the first thing everybody wants to blame it on is Netflix. That's Netflix's problem, and my feeling
Netflix
is
ruined everything.
I don't think it's Netflix's fault. I think, it's my personal opinion, I think Netflix is the beneficiary of people having to jump through a lot of hoops as it regards getting tickets, managing tickets, renewing tickets, dealing with price increases, that type of thing as it regards the college hockey game. Well, I think that they're one of the beneficiaries
costs.
Too.
Yes, from a university standpoint, I need to do something to make sure that my costs don't go out of whack.
Right.
I've got to support that.
Exactly. And going with all digital tickets would save them money on printing.
And we had mentioned prepping for this, that the NHL's done that.
Yes, you were telling me because you don't have a full season of Colorado Avalanche tickets. You have a partial package,
right?
Correct? How many games is it?
Minimum. I think we have to do a minimum, and then I can get as many games as I want, basically.
Okay.
And we did that so that we could go to games and not have to pay Ticketmaster fees,
right,
for individual games.
Yeah.
And not have to be at the mercy of what can I find on sites like StubHub and eTix and things like that.
Right.
I was a little hesitant when they said what had happened for those that have never, attended an NHL game or something. The NHL stepped in and said, we can't have 31 different ways of doing ticketing and 31 different ways of managing that and 31 different ways of buying that. This needs to be normalized. The cost needs to be shared across all 31 teams. So the NHL is going to come in and we're going to integrate it into the NHL app because it's an app that we feel most fans already have. And Ticketmaster is going to be the back end and everything will be done through there. So I have no paper tickets. I buy tickets and they're just, boom, they're in my app. Done.
Okay.
And entering, I just scan.
And you have to use that app, correct, to get into the games?
No, because I put them in my digital wallet.
So do you transfer them from the app to the
Yep.
wallet on your iPhone or on your Apple
Well,
Watch?
and it's automatic. So
Okay.
anything that's in my anything that's in my Apple Wallet's on my Apple Watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no,
And
no, no. I know
then
that.
it's automatic that I think mine's set for 7 days. 7 days prior to the event, the ticket gets moved out of the app and gets placed in my
Your wallet.
Apple Wallet.
Okay.
So I don't have to physically go in. I don't have to log in.
Because, like, for example, with UNO hockey season ticket holders, you can log into your My Mav account via Safari
Right.
because they don't have their own standalone app. And so you can do it via Safari and put it in the
Yes.
wallet on your. And I don't know what you do for Android because
This is the same kind of thing.
I don't do Android. I'm sure they have some. Yeah. Okay. It's fine.
The same kind of thing. But there's challenges with that. Like the way that UNO does it, one of the things is the security aspect of that. Because we've talked about this last year when they first went to the digital ticket thing. I used the same ticket all season long.
Well, it's this. Here's the thing: it's the same QR code because
Right.
it's the same QR code on the plastic credit card like ticket that you get
Right.
for the whole season. And I've heard that Ticketmaster wants to go with time specific or rotating QR codes so that there's a unique QR code for every game. As you said,
Which is what the NHL does.
in order to protect ticket piracy, essentially.
Which isn't as big of a concern for college hockey. I get that,
It's-
as it
it's-
will be for a major sporting event like an NHL game.
I'm just gonna this cynical me. I'm just gonna
course.
say it's not. It's this is why you and I have to pay a monthly fee to use Adobe Photoshop, Adobe InDesign, Adobe Illustrator because of software piracy. And Adobe doesn't like that. So we have to pay a monthly fee to subscribe to software because they don't sell standalone versions anymore that you can buy and pay a one-time fee and then have it on your computer till it doesn't work anymore.
I would say because people buy it once and hold
And
it
then
for
hold it
forever.
forever.
And
Yeah, and I've done that too.
Yeah.
I've had versions of Photoshop on, and I still have some computers that have older operating systems that have the version of Adobe from years and years ago. But everybody wants to get away with that because everybody's worried about, nefarious ticket practice. And like you said, for professional events like an NHL game or an NFL football game or
Right.
something like that, it's a concern. It's probably not as much of a concern for UNO hockey. They would probably love to be in a situation where people were
Right.
actively looking for ways to sneak into a UNO hockey game. You know what I'm saying?
So what I was when the NHL when they told us when I was renewing season tickets
Right.
and they told us they were going to this, I was concerned about how this would work. I transfer a lot of tickets to friends. I get
Sure.
a lot of tickets for people.
Yeah.
I trade tickets constantly. So it's like I've got this game in the lower bowl. You give me those 2 games in the upper bowl. We'll
So
call
let
it.
me ask you:
So-
if you transfer a ticket to them, as it is like now with like UNO hockey tickets, we can transfer tickets to somebody via email
Right.
through Ticketmaster because they're the giant monopoly that controls everything and makes us do all this stuff. So you can transfer via email, and then they can pull up that ticket on their browser or whatever.
Well, and so if they have the app and already have a Ticketmaster account, which a lot of the ones that I do, I just put
So if
in,
they have
I'm
the-
taking this to hold on. I'm taking this ticket, I'm transferring it to John. John's email is this. I send it over to you. It's automatically accepted because you already have a Ticketmaster account.
Do you have to have the Avalanche app though, or do you have to have the Ticketmaster
See, that
app, or
was-
does it matter?
And that's what we talked about. Like, I think the only way this happens for us Mav fans is if the NCHC steps in and says the same thing that the NHL did. We can't keep having everyone do things differently. Ticketmaster is going to come in. They're going to run things because they're the biggest player in the game and the one that we're already using in multiple venues. And so everyone's going to adapt this. We're going to have the NCHC app will hold everything. You'll be able to brand the app your way. So my NHL app has all of the Avs information in it. It has the Avs schedule. That's my homepage. That's my team,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So I see their brand things. It would be the same thing. All of my tickets are in there. The great thing is, and we talked about this, is if I want to go see a game in another venue, which I do fairly regularly because I like hockey. So I'm going to go see whoever, wherever. I have some advantages to the fact that I have a season ticket package with the Avalanche. When I go to someplace else, I get discounts, I get, no fees, things like that. And those tickets are in the same app with everything else. So I don't have to have, in our case, I don't have to have the UNO app and the DU app and the MMD app and the SCSU app and whatever all these are to be able to attend each games as I travel around with the team. It would be one of those things where you just have one app and you can, if you decide you want to, go up to Duluth and see a game or go up to St. Cloud and see a game, you can do so. You can purchase the apps. You can purchase the tickets through the app. The app stores your tickets. It works the same way to get in at Amstel Arena as it does at Baxter.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they. I don't know that the NCHC is. I don't know what word I'm looking for. I don't know that they would do that. Like you said, it sounds like a good idea. Obviously, the NHL is a big,
right,
multi-bajillion-dollar operation, so they can afford people to oversee that and make sure everything's working well behind the scenes and everything else. As we saw with NCHC TV on the Apple TV, especially early this season, there were a lot of problematic quirks that were causing a lot of problems with watching games. So I don't necessarily know that I would trust them to run something as sophisticated as a ticketing app. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm playing devil's advocate with you because I just feel like all of this, while to you and I, we spend our days, I build websites. We do a lot of, technical things with HTML and order forms and recurring payments online and things like that. And I know you deal with the same thing. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is what we do. I'm the type of guy, when I decided to cut, cable TV, I climbed up in the attic. I found the 1960s era, antenna. I rewired it. I ran the coaxial cable through my wall and back to my, back of my TV, and it provides me beautiful high definition picture with the local channels, and I don't pay anything for it. But I can tell you right now, 99% of people in life are not going to be willing to jump through those hoops, whereas you and I are, because we deal with this stuff all the time. So our minds are already wired this way. I just feel like as time goes by, we're making it way too hard to buy a ticket. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you an example. We do work for the local Tangier Shrine here in Omaha, and we help promote their circus. And their cheapest ticket is $18. Mm-hmm. And I was telling you about this before the show. It's a general admission ticket. It's an actual seat, but they're in the end sections at the Mid-America Center. So if you buy your ticket at the Shrine, it's $18 a seat. So if you buy a pair of tickets, it's $36. If you buy them at Hy-Vee, it's $36.
Right.
If you buy them on Ticketmaster.com ahead of time, which you would normally want to do with an event like that, you'd make plans to go on, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's $53 for two $18 tickets because of all of the fees you pay through Ticketmaster. And again, the idea is supposed to be it's more convenient and it saves them time and money if you go through the Ticketmaster system, but it's not, because you have to pay money. And then if you want an actual paper ticket, you have to pay extra to either have it at will call or, more for the printed ticket and for postage if you want them to mail it to you. And it's not really, it's cheaper if you buy a digital ticket, but then it's not. And so my concern is that Ticketmaster, which basically holds a monopoly over ticketing in the United States today, that this is all about getting, building these walled gardens so they can have everything happen online, so they can charge service fees to either end users or, venues.
It's like there's this whole concept of like
overthinking.
No,
that's what I'm.
Like,
that's what. Okay.
You're inundating people with services, right?
Yes.
And this is just another one of those, because Ticketmaster has a subscription service. You don't pay Ticketmaster fees for the events that you want to go to. You pay $6 a month, or I have no idea what it is because I've never looked into it. Because the fact that they call it a convenience fee just drives me up the wall, because it's the most inconvenient thing in the world, and you're telling me it's convenient. It's like it's the oxymoron of oxymoronic statements.
Right.
But Yeah, I mean, this all leads to them selling their subscription service because now, it includes UNO hockey games. It includes concerts at CenturyLink. It includes events at CenturyLink. If you don't want to pay the
Right.
service fee, you pay per month to be part of our program. So I think part of it is I don't want to, contribute to that, but then again, I do look
You're
at it
contributing.
going,
You are
I
contributing to
have
that.
to.
You're told it's
When I look at it though, you have to say, okay, well, where is the market going? Are people more likely to purchase tickets and plan ahead? Or is it the Netflix kind of generation of, I want to go to a hockey game now. What's the fastest way for me to get tickets? I don't want to have to go stand in line. You don't want to, as a venue. I mean, I don't want to have to staff boxes where people sit 90% of the time and don't do anything.
right. The problem, Jason, and I completely agree with you. It's much more convenient for people to order online, whether it's on their phone, on their computer, on their tablet. But the problem is if you order online, it costs significantly more than if you
Right.
go to the box office and buy it because of these service fees. And I ask myself that it just seems backward. It seems like it should be cheaper if you're ordering online because in the case of the particular venue, it's they don't have to if you buy a ticket at 11
Which,
o'clock at night, they don't have to have somebody on staff right then to do it. But because they're going through
right.
Ticketmaster's system and Ticketmaster holds a monopoly on ticketing at major venues in this country,
They charge
you're
ridiculous fees.
again, they're like the utility company, they're like your phone company, they're like the cable and satellite providers who basically run roughshod because they have monopolies in various communities around the country and are able to do this. And this is the thing that bothers me because I think UNO can say, well, we're charging you know $18 for a ticket, but when the end user buys it through Ticketmaster and it ends up costing significantly more than $18, they don't see, oh, well, UNO is just charging $18 and I'm paying my toll
Right.
to Ticketmaster. Instead, they just look at it as I'm paying whatever the final dollar amount is. And I really do think that this is potentially having an effect on a lot of ticketed events around the country. And the thing is, when you talk about something like Netflix, when I pay $12.99 a month for Netflix, that's what I'm paying. I don't get some extra service charge if I watch, Stranger Things, 5 or 6 times, or watch it every day over and over again for the month, or watch too many hours per month. I don't get like an overage charge or anything else. I'm paying one flat fee. It's very easy. I know what I'm getting up front. You know what you're getting up front. So anyway, bringing this back to the UNO hockey season ticket holders, because Jason's looking at me like, man, what is wrong with you? You are not down with
No,
this.
not at
But
all.
I'll give you an example. We have 5 season tickets
Right.
to UNO hockey.
Right.
Okay. Bridget and I used 2. Okay. We've transferred tickets to you guys when you guys have given your tickets
Appreciate that,
away.
yeah.
We do it for other people. My dad also comes to the games. My dad is 78 years old. Okay. My dad, normally we would give him tickets each week. So when we got the cards 2 seasons ago, season before last for the first time, that had the QR code, it was great because he could put it in his wallet, because there were times that he'd forget his tickets or that he'd leave them in the car. Now he leaves this like a credit card or debit card in his wallet all the time. And it's great. If you go to all digital, okay, my dad has a flip phone. Bridget and I pay for his cell service and we pay for his phone.
Mm-hmm.
We just got him a new phone year before last. 1 month after we got him the flip phone, he inadvertently ran it through the washing machine. And I'm like, well, put it in a bowl of rice. So he did. And honestly, the flip phone worked. I can tell you right now, if we'd gotten him an iPhone or an Android phone, that thing would have been dead potentially. And maybe not. Maybe the waterproof nature of the iPhone. Maybe it would have held for maybe it would have held for the 2025. Yes, the lack of the headphone jack might have saved him there. But again, I am not buying him a $500 phone so that he can show a QR code to somebody standing there with a scanner at the entrance of Baxter Arena. I'm not going to do you understand? I mean, I'm paying what, $295 for his ticket. I'm not going to, fork over another $500 to get him a
For him to
phone
use it.
plus cellular and service and everything else. And I know everybody looks at it and says, well, everybody's got a phone, but I can tell you, there are people that, sit around us at the games that I can tell that they're not, avid cell phone users. And I don't know how they're going to feel about, having to pull them up on the phone. You got to make sure your phone's charged when you're going into the place. You got to make sure that the screen protector doesn't cause funky issues with the scanners. I mean, there's a lot of
Variables that are introduced into this.
To me,
Right.
it creates hurdles when you don't have to create hurdles.
I think the other thing to your point is that you lose control over
Right.
that experience, essentially. Because like you mentioned, okay, UNO charges you $18 for the ticket, but when you purchase a ticket and it ends up costing you $26, and you're like, you don't think, oh, that's because Ticketmaster fees are $8. You think, why is UNO jacking me on the price of the ticket, right? And you can't control that.
Right.
If Ticketmaster says, you know what, we're not making enough money, we need to make more revenue, we're going to up our service fee $1, you can't, you have a choice to make, right? Like, the only thing you can do is lower the price of your ticket to offset that fee. Otherwise, your users, your fans are going to be paying more.
And obviously, this is the advantage of buying season tickets, because you don't have to deal with that.
Which is the advantage to this, because one of the things we have said on this podcast is that there are hardly any benefits to buying season tickets anymore. Because when Baxter first opened, tickets were at a premium, and you bought season tickets because you had to buy season tickets if you wanted to guarantee that you could come to every game.
That was the year UNO went to the Frozen Four. Very popular, brand new arena. It cut the size, in half from the CenturyLink Center downtown. Yeah. So you had to buy your tickets. But now we've
gotten to the point where there's so many empty seats, and they run these, because I've said it. It frustrates the heck out of me that I see these ads on TV and newspapers and social media and stuff that people can get $5 seats next to me. I bought season tickets. They're getting a single game cheaper than what my season tickets are.
Right.
And it's frustrating. And I get that they're trying to put butts in the seats, right? I understand the reason for doing it. But I look at me as a season ticket holder, and this season more than ever before, I question, why do I still have season tickets?
Well, I know some people like that. Like there's a buddy of mine who posts on the Mavpuck message board. I know him on Facebook. He is married to the sister of a girl that Bridget and I were friends with in high school. I knew her in middle school. She lived down a couple blocks from me, and he has held on to his season tickets, but his wife, and he's got a couple kids, and they find it hard to make time to come to games. He loves hockey. He would go every game if he could, but because of those family commitments, and he said, it's just you're busier having a family today than you were in the past. And it's absolutely true. I hear about the amount of time that your daughters play youth hockey. And I'm like, are they training for the flippin' Olympics? I mean, it's ridiculous. My nephew Blaze and my niece Scotland go to karate 3 times a week. Bridget takes them on Tuesday and Thursday nights because their mom and dad are working. They're busy. And I'm like, why are we practicing 3 times? Why are we going to karate 3 times a week? When I was a kid, you'd go practice. When I played youth soccer, you'd go practice once a week and you'd play a game once a week. It lasted for a couple months. Then you moved on with your life. That's the way it worked now. Now we're training these kids. This is probably why we have parity in sports, is all of the training at the youth level for these athletes at such a young age. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it used to be back when you had less training, the really good athletes just rose to the top because they were just naturally good and talented. Now we're spending all this time training kids. But literally, karate 3 times a week.
Right.
I'm just telling you right now. I mean, unless they're going to be in a kung fu movie or, They're they're going to be in the next Karate Kid movie.
So
Why are we training this much?
that comes back to,
But it goes back
what's
that
our
people just
option?
don't have time for. I mean, people
Right.
have you're not just competing when it comes for a UNO hockey season ticket holder. They're not just competing with other entertainment options. They're just competing with any activity
Right.
that goes on. And you guys are very busy people with the girls, and obviously Bridget's taking the kids to karate 2 nights a week. But it goes back to the thing. If they announce at the end of this season, Jason, if they say the season ticket next year are just going to be digital and you're going to have to deal with them on your phone, how do you think that goes over? It'll go over fine with you.
50-50. Well, but
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, is I think it'll go over basically the way this podcast segment's going over, right? Like, it's 50-50. You're gonna have some people that are like, you're gonna have 25% of the population that is, this is stupid, I can't believe I have to do this, I don't want my season tickets anymore. You're gonna have 25% of the population that is, this is awesome, I can't believe they finally went to this. Yes, this is what I've been wanting, right? This is
right.
And then you're gonna have 50% of the population is like, I don't care. Who cares? Like, this doesn't move the needle for me either direction.
One way or
right?
another. They don't care. They're just apathetic one way or the other.
So you're never going to, I don't think, in business, I think too many companies have been paralyzed by seeking that option where no one gets mad at them, essentially, right?
There is, although you have to be...
Someone's always going to be upset.
You have to be careful, though. You have to be careful about pushing it too far.
Right. And you have to ask yourself, like, are there things that, if we're going to do this, we know we're going to upset 25 out of 100. Is there something that we can do that would soften the blow for them? And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's, you know what, if you're a season ticket holder for the 1920 season, we're going completely digital for 2021, and those season ticket holders get something special. A special, even something as simple as a special entry line, where this is the entry tables, the security checkpoints that are on the closest to the community rink, right? Maybe those 2 lanes there are for season ticket members only for one season. We won't tell them it's one season.
Could be, yeah.
And what we're going to do is we're going to staff that with the expectation that half the people that come through are going to be fine because they know us and it's no big deal. And the other half of the people are going to need a little bit extra help, but they're current season ticket holders. And so they've got they've got a red card instead of a white card so that we know who they are. And they get, essentially you get some special treatment. Because I think season ticket holders in general are just wanting to know that they're valued. And they're valued by saying that we are something, as elitist as it sounds, we're better than the people who just bought the ticket on the app or strolled up to the counter and got their ticket, right? And that's a way to say we're going to make this experience better for you because you're committed and you're supporting the team, day in and day out, and you're making a choice not to do these other things that we know other people are choosing to do.
Well, and I think something you point out there is feeling special. I think it's a special thing every season getting your season tickets, whether it's the new lanyard credit card mold or getting the books of season tickets. There's something special about that. There's something that, somebody who's a big fan, who's a collector, there's something kind of archival about that. You can frame your season tickets in a room. I'm sitting right in front of, your hallway where you guys have your Maverick memorabilia up. I mean, to me, when you're getting something digitally, I think it just feels like in a way it sort of loses that kind of cachet, that sort of prestige. Because as you said, what else do we get? We're buying.
Right.
My thing is,
in the old days, it was season ticket members had the nice, colorful tickets, and if you just bought a ticket to the game,
it was just one of the generic printed out on the dot matrix type
right.
printer look. It was not an attractive looking ticket.
It wasn't commemorative, right?
And
I get that.
Mean, to me, you got to be careful because it just makes it look like you're trying to save money by not printing and distributing. And here's the thing: every year, we pay a $10 fee. We pay a $10 like printing and mailing fee for our tickets when we buy and renew our season tickets every year. The fact of the matter is they haven't had to print ticket books in what, 2 years now, and we're still paying that fee. I mean,
Right.
My feeling is if you're going to go all digital, then you should offer some form of a discount, because it's not like we've used our playoff tickets in, ages.
Well,
and we
and the
continue to pay
NHL,
those.
when they made the transition, with the clubs that were already doing digital tickets, when they prior to making the transition, did a year or two in some cases. Most of them did a year of you get to choose if you want, and it wasn't a discount. It was season tickets cost X. If you want,
You have to pay more.
if you still want the printed tickets, it's going to cost you
See, I would,
more
I would,
dollars.
I would position that, and the example I used to you is when Apple's Pro XDR display came out.
Right.
Rather than saying the display costs, $5,000,
Right.
and then you can buy this stand here for it that's another $1,000. Instead, Jason, what a lot of people suggested they should have done was they should have said, here's the monitor and the stand. They're $6,000. If you choose to buy it without the stand, it's $1,000 less.
Right.
Again, that's what I would do with this. I would say, again, price it the way you want, but then you can massage it in such a way where you say, if you choose all digital tickets, you get it cheaper. Essentially build in the fee for the print ticket in the price, and then just deduct that if people say they want to do all digital. I do think it would be a bold move, since we're just 2 years into doing these kind of credit card like tickets, to say, well, we're done with that. We're moving you guys now on to just the all digital experience, because as we remember the Mav Experience app that UNO unleashed, if they ever did go with their own branded Ticketmaster UNO ticket app, we remember with that Mav Experience app that there were all kinds of problems. There was incorrect information on it. And you've got to be careful about, I've sat and you've sat in, conference rooms and had these meetings where a lot of people want to make it sound like they're cool and cutting edge and like they know what they're talking about by saying, we just ought to go all digital and make people use their cell phones. I am a technology guy who uses my iPhone all the time. You're a technology guy who uses your iPhone all the time. But there are a lot of people who basically, despite the fact that they have an expensive phone, they basically use it for text messaging and phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
You know as well as I do. And anything more technical than that, they're potentially not going to be, keen on doing. So this is what I'm saying.
It comes down to, I think, to kind of wrap this up. It comes down to how much do the people that are making these decisions at UNO know what their fan base is like, right?
Right.
If they don't know their fan base, then this is going to be a disaster.
Because, if you look at that fan base, it's not a, auditorium full of millennials. It's predominantly people age 40 and up, like myself. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of times people who have, the time to go to hockey games, 2 games a weekend, are
Right.
people who are empty nesters. They're people who are older. They're people who don't have the kind of commitments that you guys have with your daughters. So
Everyone's a little different.
that's right.
So up next, we've got a week off.
We do. Thank God.
Kind of needed it.
Because
right?
I thought that topic on tickets there was going to, roll over into next week there at some point. Just going to keep talking for another,
Change the topic of the entire podcast.
That's... It was plastic bags last week, clear plastic bags. It's tickets this week. We have 2 weeks now to think of another, rant-worthy topic. So, yes, another gripe topic.
So, after the week off, we've got Carroll College coming to town. Low men on the totem pole, so...
They are. Although I thought I watched a bit of their series against St. Cloud this last weekend, and they were competitive both games.
They're a dangerous team.
Both of those games went to overtime.
Yeah, this is not a, easy no-brainer. I don't think that they've had the results they expected this season, but I think it's a better team of one. They're better than where they stand.
UNO, the way UNO's performed this season has kind of been like the way Colorado College performed last season. They kind of surprised people. They upset their way to the NCHC Frozen Face-Off in St. Paul. And so, this is going to be an interesting one. Obviously, we swept Colorado College a few weeks ago when we went out there and played. But this one's at home. And For whatever reason, we've only won one NCHC game at home this season. That to me is kind of the craziness. Despite the fact that we've had a really good season, the team's been very competitive. They've played well. We've only won one conference game, and that was last week against Western Michigan.
So your picks then, or you?
This is a hard one. I feel like, gosh, I kind of actually think it benefits us kind of being so close in the standings against St. Cloud State, who's currently sitting in 5th place. We'll have to see how things go next weekend, where we stand as far as 4th place goes. I still think it's going to be an awfully tough climb for us to get even close to that, but you never know what happens. We've got a favorable schedule on out. So I'm going to say, because this is always what I do with UNO, I'm going to say we finally break through and get a conference sweep at home this season. And we finally, rather than just having won one home game, we're going to win 2 home games this season. And I think having a week off will help, because hopefully some of those guys who are dinged up can get back in the lineup, and we'll have a full complement of forwards and defensemen, and both of our goaltenders will be healthy. So that's the direction I'm going to go. I'm going to say we sweep. Maybe I should say we split, but I'm going to say we sweep against CC. It's a team we should be able to sweep at home. What do you think, Jason?
I'm actually going on a rare occasion to agree with you.
Okay.
I think that it's not just where they sit. I think that we match up well against Carroll College.
We do. We statistically, if you look at it, there's a lot of similarities between these two teams.
I think that depth-wise, we are a deeper team. I think
absolutely
top to bottom.
Yep.
The one thing that's going to trip us up, if we have problems, is going to be if we can't shut down their top 2 3-point producers.
Yep.
If we can shut down them, we should have no problem getting through this weekend. The other thing that somewhat led me to believe that maybe I needed to pick the split was not knowing where we stand with Seville.
Right.
I'm confident in Roden, but I mean, we saw him when Seville was over at the World Juniors, and so I just don't know.
He's a dependable, capable goaltender. Yeah. Seville, a lot of times,
but how do we play in front of him?
Seville can bring you that kind of. He can bring you that kind of intangible dynamic where he can make one of those just ridiculous. I'm not saying that the other 2 goaltenders we have can't do that, but we've seen Seville do that in the second half of the season, and that can be big. 1 or 2 shots can be the difference.
Yeah.
Between success and failure in a game. So I'm with you on that. I feel like we're a deeper team than Colorado College, and I feel like we should be able to sweep these guys at home, but for whatever reason, we haven't played as well as home as we have on the road this season. So you never know.
You never do know, but hopefully we can find a way to
get it done.
Do what we think was going to happen and win both.
That's right. So 2 weeks. We will see everybody back
2
then.
weeks.
All right. Well, until next time, follow Mavpuck on Facebook, Twitter. You can find links to all those things at mavpuck.com. You can also find an archive of all of our old podcasts. All of them are embedded with SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube on the website. So all kinds of ways to listen to us rant and wander on about all kinds of UNO hockey related topics. So until next time, go Mavs.
Go Mavs.